Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roxanne. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Today I want to tell you all about the books that I read in the month of July. First we have The Death of Vivek Oj by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a novel set in eastern Nigeria about our main character Vivek, who has something up with him, and his family don't really understand, and he doesn't know how to properly, or doesn't feel like he can properly express what is wrong. And so we are building both to trying to understand what is going on with Vivek and also how he died and the circumstances around his death. We know from the very beginning that this is about the death of Vivek Oj, so that's not a spoiler, but Akwaeke Emezi takes us through this very touching, complex novel and set of characters who are all trying to love in their own way, though perhaps not in the healthiest way, trying to understand in whatever way they can. And it's really a novel about family, love, honesty, being true to yourself and what that means. And there are a lot of topics in which they push the mold or push the line and make you question how you feel about certain things that we might deem as taboo. I ended this novel caring so incredibly much about these characters, but feeling very conflicted about some of the choices made by the author. It was my book club discussion, and a lot of us had very conflicting feelings, and we were all trying to find ways to understand, because we felt that obviously the author wanted us to be able to understand and sort of get what they were saying. Overall, I think this is not a novel for everybody. I think it's beautifully written. I think you have to go to it with an open mind and just let the questions that arise as you read it arise and deal with them in whatever way you will. But I think this is a novel that really pushes back towards the reader, and I really appreciated it, because to this day I'm still thinking about it and still trying to determine how I feel. And yeah, I recommend it. I read Of Women and Soul by Gabriela Garcia. This is a novel told in slight vignettes, not in chronological order, about these Cuban women, and they're all like mother, daughter, great grandmother, all that, and two women from I forget where they're from. They're not from Mexico, they're from like El Salvador or something like that, and how their stories blend. So this talks a lot about the history of Cuba, how people who stayed feel, how those who left feel. Galileo deja eso. And it talks about addiction, it talks about family, it talks about politics, and there are many parts of this that I thought really shone and which really showed what the author can really do in the future. But I think overall, I think the non-Caribbean Latin American characters that we get, the mother-daughter, and again I just don't remember where they're from, they ultimately seem to me as sort of pawns in the story of the Cuban immigrants story, the Cuban women, and I didn't feel like it was necessary. I didn't feel like it was fair to them as characters. It felt like they were there only to make a point about something else. And I don't know that the author did that purposefully, because she herself is half Cuban, half like Mexican, I believe. So I think she was trying to bring both sides of herself to the story, but I don't know that it was as successful as she intended it to be, because ultimately, while she will discuss things like Cuban immigrant privilege and whiteness within Cubans and racism within Cubans and the whole like the wet foot dry foot policy, she kind of does what she critiques by treating these characters as so secondary. And it's like, if you wanted the story to be about these Cuban women and how they are tied together and the ways in which history have played a role in their lives and the ways in which they love each other or not, or resent each other, then just do that. I don't know that you needed the other two characters, and so they felt periphery, and they felt peripheral, and they felt like a throwaway almost. And I think that does a disservice to them, and I think it does a disservice to the novel, because I couldn't help but see the sort of irony that the same thing that you are critiquing, you're doing. So I gave this about a 3 stars. Like I said, I think I did tab it because she does have some great moments that I really thought she had something, but overall it didn't work for me as much as I really wanted it to, but I will give it a shot to anything that she writes in the future. Warning in this one for drug use, overdose, racism, sexual assault, underage sexual assault, and domestic abuse. I also finally finished The Lord of the Rings. I read The Return of the King. This one's much shorter than I thought, but yeah, what else can I say about these? I love them so much. I love how you feel like you really are going through all of this with the characters, like you're traveling with them, like you're going on this task, and there's just such a sense of wonder and adventure and even whimsy that I really love about his world and his writing style. I got along with these great. I didn't find them, I was, I guess, a little bit intimidated at the very beginning, but I think once you get over the first books, you know, the first chapter, you're good to go. So I recommend these if they are part of like a fantasy list of books you must read or something. I'm really glad that I read them. I had such a good time with them. And I also did a reading vlog of me finishing The Lord of the Rings. So I read and watch The Two Towers and Return of the King. So that's already up if you'd like to check it out. Then I read The Girl with the Stars in Her Eyes by Sio Axelrod. And this is a romance. This is a contemporary romance about music and musicians. Our sort of main couple were kids, were friends as kids. The male character betrays our female character in some way. They live their lives separately, and then after they are adults, they are sort of thrust together by fate and the story takes off from there. And I thought this was really fun. This is really entertaining. I really enjoyed how we get to see the music side of it and their passion for it. I just thought this was really fun. I enjoyed both of our characters a lot. It is not very steamy, so if you like romance but not the steam part, I would check this out. Yeah, I mean, this was very fun, and I wanted to do nothing but read it while I was doing it. It's super readable. I zipped right through it. So yeah, give it a shot. I read In at the Deep End by Kate Davies, and this was a novel that took me by surprise. So in the synopsis, or when I first read about this book, it's about this woman who hasn't had sex in like years, I think, and every time that she tries to have sex with a man, it's incredibly disappointing. And it's about her discovering her sexuality and her sensuality and becoming and sort of exploring that side of her. She finds that she is a lesbian. She understands that about herself, and it's about the relationships that she takes on after that, and how everything plays out from there. I went into this thinking that it was going to be very cheeky and very funny, and it certainly has those moments, and like it would kind of make you sort of like, I don't know, like it was supposed to be very sexy and kind of make you like not want to read it in public kind of thing. But it actually ended up being much more serious than I thought. This is all about our main character finding agency after becoming involved in an incredibly abusive relationship. And so, you know, trigger warnings for abusive relationship, alcohol and drug abuse, gaslighting. This is, yeah, it was much more complex than I thought. I actually, I went into it, I kind of, part of me hopes that that's what it would have been, because I went into it wanting just like a fun, cheeky novel. But I do appreciate what the author said, and all of the ways in which we get to see our main character find agency. It takes her a long time, and it can get very difficult and frustrating to see from the outside looking in, but I appreciate that we're getting to see how this manifests in queer relationships and sapphic relationships, especially. So if you happen to pick this up, it is a queer novel, Own Voices, but do know that it is much more complex and thought-provoking and difficult than the synopsis would suggest. I read The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This was in my June TBR, and I finally got to finish it, and I actually enjoyed my time with this. I was worried at first that it was going to be a series. I don't think it is, because the story pretty much closes off and it had a very satisfactory ending. So I don't think that this is going to be a series. So I was worried that it was like unnecessarily long, but because if it is going to stay as a standalone, then I think it is an appropriate length. I think it does that so that you're able to really understand the political machinations at play. So this is about this queendom that has stayed alive and protects its people against these like evil dragons that used to rule the world by way of the lineage of the queen. So every queen has a daughter, and as long as that daughter continues to have a daughter, the people are protected. There are other kingdoms that have different beliefs, and they have issues and don't get along. So there's a lot of political machinations that go on. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of religion that is at play here. And yeah, I mean, I had a really good time with it. I had fun reading it. I was able to follow along. I didn't really ever feel lost or like there was unnecessary like there was anything overly unnecessary about it. I think this might have been you could have made it into a series and had much more expansive exploration of certain elements, certain characters, but I think if it's going to be a standalone, then I get it. One of my issues with it is that our sort of main relationship, I wish had more like we would have just seen more of the beginnings of it, as both characters are getting to the point in which they end up caring for each other. I wish I would have had more of that. But yeah, I mean, there is action, there's magic, there's dragons. This isn't like a new favorite, but I had fun and I recommend it if that's your thing. As far as audiobooks and other types of things that I read, I reread The Kiss Potion by Helen Huang, and I enjoyed it the same amount the second time that I read it as the first. I'm doing a reread for these before the third in the series comes out. I read Eyes That Kiss in the Corners by Joanna Ho. That is a picture book about the eyes of this young, beautiful Asian girl, and how she talks about each of her family members and how their eyes kiss in the corners and how they are all alike in that sense, and it is absolutely beautiful. I listened to For Everyone by Jason Reynolds, which is a poem about being resilient and understanding and not giving up, and it is really for everyone. It's really great for kids because it's kind of about how you shouldn't give up and how you should fight for what you believe in. And yeah, I mean, it was lyrical and amazing as Jason Reynolds is. I read Lucas at the Paralympics by Igor Plo, and this is a really cute picture book about the Paralympics and of kids understanding what they are and what disability is and the different rules about different Paralympic sports, and it was really fun and really sweet. I read Scott Pilgrim Volume 1 by Brian Lee O'Malley, and it was funny. I chuckled. Very, very awkward. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but then I started to read the second and recognized that I really didn't care that much, and so stopped. So like, I'm glad I kind of know what it's all about. I have watched the movie, and I think I really enjoyed it when I watched it a few years back. I wonder how I would feel about it now. But yeah, it has the R word for those that are sensitive to that. I absolutely abhor that word. I know that probably at the time that this came out, you know, we still thought that was fine, but I hate it. I hate seeing it anywhere that I see it. And I also read The Jokers 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are right here. And these are comics. These are single issue comics that Ashley over at the Bookish Realm is always talking about, and this is about the relationship between the Joker and Commissioner Gordon, and how the Joker affects him and his life and his family, and it is very psychological. I absolutely loved it. I really like, I just zoomed right through these. They're so fun. I love the portrayal of the Joker in this. And to be quite honest, I am not a single issue comic reader. Mostly I haven't read comics a lot, so I don't know. I'm not really a good person to tell you one way or the other whether these are true to character or anything like that. I'm just telling you that I really enjoyed them, and I thought they were great, and I love the psychological aspects behind it, and I can't wait to read the next one. I think it already came out, so I have to go to my local comic book shop and grab that. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time with them. So if you are into that, if you like Batman the Joker comics, I highly recommend it. So that is all that I read in the month of July. So let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought. As always, thank you for watching and for listening. I love you all very much.